Very good morning. You're watching NewsX and I'm Shivani Singh. Let's start off with some breaking news coming in from the US. Now, US Senators Jenny Shaheen and Elizabeth Warren have urged the Trump administration to end sanctions relief on Russian oil and not renew Treasury General License 134B. They argue that the policy allows Russia to generate additional revenue from oil sales while offering no real relief to American consumers facing high fuel prices. The senators further claim that the current approach is counterproductive and have accused Donald Trump's policy direction of indirectly enabling Russia amid the broader geopolitical tensions. Let me, in fact, go across to my colleague Aditya Vadhavan, who's joining us live on the broadcast this morning to give us the updates regarding this. Aditya, we're talking about how US senators have, in fact, stated that they want the Trump administration to forego the sanctions waiver that they have, in fact, given to Russia because they believe that this is enabling Russia, in fact, and this is in turn enabling the Russia-Ukraine war.
Well, absolutely. Now, Shivani, as you said that, that the US senators want that the sanctions waiver to be should be extended to Russia. And definitely, for time and again, US President Donald Trump had been saying that that his first top priority is to end the Russia-Ukraine war. However, it hasn't happened so far till now, and we come across several attacks, that have been done by the Russians on Ukraine, and the Ukraine also retaliating by attacking the oil facilities of Russia. So clearly, at this juncture, Shivani, there are concerns because during this Middle East crisis, Russia has been one of the most biggest beneficiary of this Middle East escalation because it has been able to definitely, Shivani, if you see, sell its oil to several countries. So definitely now it needs to be seen whether this sanction waiver extends to Russia or not. This needs to be seen because we have seen how for some time, because of the oil crisis, because of this exorbitantly high prices of oil, America for some time had extended this sanction waiver on the Russian oil. However, it needs to be seen how now things unfold in this changing geopolitical scenario. Shivani.
Absolutely. Aditya, I'd request you to stay on with us. We'll require your input for some other stories that we are, in fact, tracking throughout this bulletin. But let me first also go across to Dr. Shaheen Kohli, who's a senior economist and who's also joining us on the broadcast. He'll join us very shortly on this. But let me go across to my colleague Aditya again on this. Because, Aditya, when we're looking at, the waiver on the oil sanctions over Russia, what we have been witnessing over the past few months is that because of the Iran war, there has been sort of an energy crisis that countries across the globe are facing. However, when US decided to waive off those sanctions on Russia and Russian oil, a lot of countries could reach the comfort level or could ease the energy crisis that they were facing. So obviously now when we are looking at these senators asking or re-demanding sanctions on Russian oil, we might further see tightening of fuel rules across the globe.
Well, absolutely. Now, as you can see, some of the US senators want that these sanctions should be reimposed on Russia. So clearly now, already there's an oil crisis, oil and gas crisis across the Middle East. We have seen how the soaring prices of oil is creating a problem. Yesterday only, we saw how the petrol has also increased by 3 rupees. So, Shivani, clearly at this juncture, right. If sanctions are reimposed on the Russian oil, there are concerns for the global community at this juncture because we have already seen Ukraine also through one of its drone attacks had targeted the oil refinery in Russia. So clearly, at this juncture, the situation is very, very tense, and it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario.
Right. Please do stay on with us, Aditya. For now, we'll go across to Dr. Kohli, who's joined us on this broadcast. Dr. Kohli, very good morning to you. we are looking at this story where certain US senators want the Trump administration to in fact again sanction Russian oil exports, because they're saying that Russia is in fact benefiting from the revenue that they are getting, and there has been no sort of ease or comfort that American consumers are feeling because of the easing of these sanctions.
Good morning, Shivani, to you and the viewers. Indeed, President Trump has been responsible for many things with regard to oil. As far as the global economy is concerned, we know that because of closure of Strait of Hormuz, where the oil is soaring right now, and American people are right now reeling under inflation. Well, the average price of oil in some of the states has touched $5. Well, overall average is little over $4.50 per gallon. So inflation is there. Cost of living has gone up. Cost of groceries, the budgets of an average American middle class, and even the elite class, they have completely gone haywire. And I think the American senators now feel that removing sanctions on Russia when the oil prices were rising in an attempt to cool down the prices has not worked, because the crude oil price still hovers around $106, $107. It even touched $126 a few days ago. So that is not helping the cause. So the sanctions, removal of sanctions did not eventually help. So they feel that sanctions should be back there. And for the information of viewers, Russia currently faces over 16,000 sanctions, overall. But having said that, my personal opinion is that these sanctions on Russia are not helping any way as well. Because what sanctions? Russia was going fine. The war with Ukraine is going on now for over 4 years and a quarter. And it has not led to anything apart from capture of 1/3 of Ukraine so far. And now bombings on Kyiv and other places. It's not really, a war dragging on for so long between a country which is supposed to be a military superpower and between a country who's got no existence with regard to military capabilities except help from Europe and America. I think the war hasn't reached any conclusion as yet. So I have a different opinion that neither the sanctions nor removal of sanctions. There's no question of sanctions when Russia has been a friend of India for a very long time. We must keep in mind. And Russia gave us discounted oil, over the last year or so before this war started. We were getting discounted oil. It is only when the crude oil prices have soared that Russia has removed those discounts. So yes, Russia is making money, because when the oil price goes up, even America is making money for that matter. America is the world's largest oil producer. So the world's largest oil producer may be dealing under inflation, but then it's selling oil when it's selling internationally for Venezuela and other places at a higher rate. So, there are 2 points of view on this. And I personally feel that sanctions should not be there, although the senators feel otherwise, Shivani.
Absolutely. Dr. Kohli, I'll request you to please stay on with us. Also joining us on the broadcast is Ambassador KP Fabian, who's a former diplomat. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for taking out your time and for speaking to NewsX. A very good morning to you. So today morning we're discussing how US senators in fact have urged the Trump administration to end the sanctions relief that had been given on Russian oil and not to renew these reliefs. As per your understanding, do you believe that this will be a good move for America?
Let me put it this way. I am in principle, against all sanctions, especially America's sanctions, because I think that is against international law and norms. And I was glad to see our External Affairs Minister speak out against coercive diplomacy. Now, coming to the specific point, President Trump did it for his own reasons, namely to bring down the rising oil prices at the pump in America. So to that extent, it will help, because as we all know, oil has a global market. So even if America is not importing oil from the Gulf, so as a matter of fact, it used to import a small quantity. Still, the price of oil, petrol in America is decided by global factors. So President Trump, from his own point of view, has done the right thing. And the senators have such an obsession with Russia and Putin. And I also believe, I heard the previous speaker say that the war on Ukraine is not stalemated. Russia has made significant progress, and if it continues, Ukraine will lose more territory and more Ukrainians, and of course Russians also will be killed. So that war has to come to an end. There is no point in prolonging it, as some people in the United States, but more people in Europe want it.
Absolutely. In fact, we have some more breaking inputs coming our way. We'd like to introduce that, then I'll come back to you both. All right, so ahead of the waiver's expiration, India has called on the US to extend the waiver, and the US has previously called on India to cut back on discounted oil purchases as a way to keep pressuring Russia. The department last month extended the waiver for 30 days until May 16th. The Trump administration was in the midst of negotiations with Iran to end the conflict and eventually lower the oil prices. A source familiar with the extension stated that partner nations requested the US to extend the waiver due to the ongoing pressures in Asia. So, Dr. Kohli, obviously India has a big stake in Russian oil, and we have been feeling the crunch of the energy crisis now over the past few weeks. And India was banking on these, waiver sanctions when it's looking at Russian oil. Do you believe that when we are requesting for an extension of the waiver, will the US in fact consider it?
At the outset, Shivani, I have a very different perspective. I feel no third country has got a right to interfere with the way we are dealing with a second country. We are a sovereign country. We have a right to wherever we want to buy oil from, wherever we want to buy anything from. No country can have the right to prevail upon our decisions. I mean, nobody can be given the power to dictate terms that when we should buy, how much should we buy, at what price should we buy or not. I have a very different opinion on this, although this is purely on Government of India, as there may be several considerations. But I feel at the outset, even when America, Shivani, asked us not to buy, by the way, there was oil purchase happening. So it is not that we had stopped buying oil from Russia at that point of time. And when it is allowed, not that we are buying anything extra, we are still buying the same. We are buying quite a large quantity of oil from Russia. And when the sanctions are reimposed or whatever, I don't think Government of India is going to stop buying oil from there. So I have a very different standpoint. I respect our sovereignty, and I feel we should not give America the right to dictate terms on whether we should be buying oil from them or not. Shivani.
All right, Dr. Kohli, thank you for your perspective on this issue. Let me also rope in Ambassador Fabian and get his view on how India, in fact, Ambassador,